Hello and good morning. Welcome to DFW Networking Diva. I am your diva, Christine Dean, and I'm all about strategy, marketing, networking, and bringing everybody together. So I love introducing some of my favorite people to our viewers out there. So today's topic, we're going to be talking a little bit about workplace, environment, and culture, and what that means and how to create a good culture. So I've got some specialists here. They'll say, no, I'm not a specialist, but these are people that have experience. Either they've been working a long time in the corporate world, or they've got recent education on it. They're well trained, whatever it is, but we're bringing in some experts to talk to us today. So I'm just going to introduce in no particular order some of my friends I want you to meet. So let's see who's ready. Freeman, would you like to come to the stage? Welcome.
Thank you, Christine. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Victor Freeman. We're so glad to have you here. Tell our audience a little bit more about your background and experience, because I know you have been doing corporate culture and management and all that for a really long time.
Yes, I have. Thank you, Christine. My background is years ago, I was one of those college graduates, management trainees at a major corporation. Now, over the years, I've worked in different industries, military background, a public entity background, municipalities, working in banking and working in healthcare.
That's a lot of different industries.
Yes. It's come full circle for me that now I have the expertise and experience to look for the next generation of managers, supervisors, and directors. So I'm really privileged that I get to work with people that are starting their careers, middle of their careers, and that they need motivation and they need encouragement for the next steps. And that's what I do on a daily basis.
So it sounds like mentoring. Ooh, I look forward to hearing how that contributes to workplace culture. That's going to be awesome. Thank you so much, Victor. We're going to introduce, let's see, Stuart. Welcome. Come on in.
Well, thank you, Christine. Thank you for inviting me. I'm excited to share more than just podcasting with you, because I am an independent talk show host now. Christine happens to be the producer of my podcasts, and I'm very, very thankful for that. I start my podcast, my key podcast, which is called Someone You Should Know, and it starts off with an intro that says, a veteran, husband, father, and grandfather. And that's what I am in a nutshell. I grew up in the women's fashion retail business. So as far as Christine saying a group of experts, I guess I would say my expertise is more how things were run than how they are run today. But I like to interact with people to share my knowledge of my retail experience and my background for those younger generation that are thinking about going into the business environment, how to lead them into the right way to do it. So
I love it, Stuart. Oh, I love it. Because really, Victor was interested in talking about mentoring. You're talking about how things were then versus now. I mean, that's a great topic, right? Things have definitely changed when it comes to workplace culture. And I think that leads us perfectly into our next speaker. So thank you, Stuart. We're going to pull you back in just a minute. But in the meantime, I want to bring in Gordon, because Gordon, this is the next generation. He's just finishing up a master's degree, right?
Sorry about that. I had a little bit of technical difficulty, but yes, I am Gordon Smith. I just recently finished my Master's of Finance at Southern Methodist University. I served in the Army for 13 years as a combat medic, and now I'm working as a executive coach with U.S. leadership. And one of the key principles that we help to achieve for all of our clients is to develop a culture that produces excellence. So we're going to be talking a lot about that today, aren't we, Christine?
Oh, yeah. I love this. What a great panel we've got going today. I love it. I'm going to pull everybody back in. Now, what you may not have realized is I brought, and it wasn't intentional, but I've got a whole room full here of veterans. Everybody here has served. So it'd be interesting to see if that pulls into this conversation at all, or if you guys decide not to talk about that. And it's completely fine, whatever you decide. But I just thought that was kind of curious how that happened, because when I sent this call out to say, who wants to talk about workplace culture? Y'all are the ones that really were interested in it. Now, What's that tell me? I don't know. Let's find out. Well, so workplace culture, it's one of those things where a lot of us that are entrepreneurs are going, that's why I don't even want to be in a workplace, right? They choose to be an entrepreneur because they don't want to be in that kind of environment. So I think talking about what it means to develop a culture, the good, the bad, the ugly, and how to make it better is really an important topic, because even as an entrepreneur, you want to build right to the point where you have employees, and now you're the one responsible for creating the culture. And you don't want to be the one that is that bad boss, right? Nobody wants to be that person. So I love it. Wherever we want to jump in, feel free. What comes to your mind when you're thinking workplace culture?
So for me, workplace culture is all about taking care of your peers and making them feel part of the team. Because what I've noticed is throughout my career, successful people have always had a team behind them that and who have worked with them. They lead from the front. As long as they take care of their people, they never have to literally worry about what the mission is to be accomplished or what the objectives are in their business. One of my leading factors of this is my first boss years ago. She would greet me in the morning. She would mention what we had to do today, and she would encourage me every single day. And that was one of the things I will never forget, because I've carried that forward in my career, that a positive outlook and attitude really helps. And the other thing she said was every lock has a key. So she was telling me we're going to have problems, but we're here to provide solutions. And that was really strong, because every day you face problems and challenges and issues, but you have to remember that you're there to provide solutions to help and to resolve that issue or problem.
Absolutely. Right. I see some head nodding going on. I think you guys are going, oh yeah. Right. And think about some of the,
I think you're spot on, because in the world of athletics, a coach works to build a good team, and a good team makes a good coach. And in my dealings, I find that very often, I'll just give an example. If you go into a restaurant and you get poor service from a waiter or a waitress, I don't necessarily fault that waiter or waitress for their poor work. I fault management for not training them in the proper way so that they can be better at the job that they're doing. And so that's a way of kind of looking at both sides of management and the team to make sure that there's a proper chemistry.
oh yeah. I was just thinking flashbacks, it's like, I don't blame the children when they're misbehaving. I blame the parents for not training them properly. I'm just saying
Exactly.
that cross applies in life. Okay. Just
Yep.
beyond the workforce.
Yeah.
Christine, one thing that I think about when I think about workplace culture is something that my dad told me towards the middle of my military career, which was, if you take care of your people, the numbers will take care of themselves. And that couldn't be any more true in today's workplace with the emphasis that's been placed on culture. But we can't think about culture just in a small independent box on itself. There's multiple components to culture that we need to discuss and that we need to address, that it's evolving as the marketplace evolves. But how do we maintain that identity of what our company is, the services we provide, and the people that we're ultimately serving, and what kind of impact are we going to be able to generate through the culture that we produce within the workplace?
Oh yeah, somebody's just finished their master's degree right there. Listen to that, man. I love it.
Like, one of the things I've noticed is, as the culture in your workplace evolves, you have to be in tune with changes in your culture. Because I've noticed that even with the work from home and the return to office, you still want to have a team outlook. I work with a diversified international team, but we come together and we discuss common issues that we're facing, solutions we can implement, and we also look at the big picture of what we're trying to accomplish, not just today, but 3 to 5 years from now. And everyone gets a look at the whole picture, because one of my past experiences was kind of scary, where I worked with a group and they did not understand their piece of the pie. They understood that there was a big project going on. They had some things to do. I took the time and the effort to explain to them how their piece of the pie fit into the entire enterprise being changed in a matter of 6 months to a year. And I think that's really the key to a positive workplace or workplace culture, is communications. has got to be the strongest element there. Because if you communicate to your team what's going on, what we're going to do next, what our big plan is, that removes a lot of the questions, a lot of the resistance, and you get buy-in.
Purpose, right? What's our purpose? What's our why? We hear that all the time. And a lot of times we forget that if you don't let the whole team know what's going on, the purpose and the why, they have no idea why something's important, right?
Yes. And they don't prioritize it that way. Well, one of the things of being a management is that it comes down from senior management, what our priorities are. Well, you disseminate that with the team and you say, this is the logic. We're spending $1 million of effort and time to generate $100 million for the company to be profitable in the next 5 to 10 years. Because all they see is $1 million being spent. They can't believe it. When you break down the small pieces and saying, this gets us to where we want to be.
Yeah, I think in most businesses, if everybody is trying to be everything to everybody, you're not going to accomplish much. It's when everybody has their own area of expertise and puts their talents into that and put it all together with all the other pieces. As you mentioned, you kind of put all the pieces to the pie together. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. Everything will fit into place. But if each individual slice of that pie is trying to be the tastiest slice of that pie, you're not going to get anywhere. Why did I choose pie?
We love pie. It's okay. Pie's a good choice, Stuart.
Who doesn't love pie? But Stuart, I'm gonna have to depart from you on being the tastiest piece of pie. I firmly believe that excellence is something that should be promoted within the workplace as a part of the culture, especially with how fast paced the market is nowadays. When we look at culture, one thing that we look at is, what is the purpose? Does that purpose support the vision? And moreover, does any of that align with your core values as a company? When we're building culture, we have to look at we're taking 1,000 different pieces, which are our people, and we're bringing them together in one organization. So to have that level of alignment with your core values or similar values that would align with that, such as honesty and integrity. When you look at a core value like that, if you have somebody that doesn't value that, then that's a really big sign that they should be included as a part of your culture. But also, culture is your ability to fulfill your promise, not just to your customers, but to your employees as well. What are you willing to say that you're standing on and are going to consistently stand on to be able to help achieve excellence in all areas, and promoting people to be that tastiest slice of the pie is them understanding the purpose, but also willing to perform because it matters to the organization. When we look at organizations as a whole, it's made up of people, it's made up of teams, and we have to consider that when we're building our culture. Yes, it was true that we started as for you started your family's businesses, a long time ago. Things have changed significantly. How do we adjust? Do we adjust our values, or do we adjust our vision to meet the challenges of today? And that's a great question for how we address culture issues today.
I was just thinking about culture differences, like you said, over time, right? You all have the military background. Were they worried about, creating a happy culture where everybody had an opportunity to share their opinion and feel heard? And I see some laughter going on right here.
What unit did you serve in?
We wanted you to have that, we would have issued it to you.
In some units, that would be true, but one thing that the military actually teaches, and this is across the DoD, is servant leadership. So looking at your role as a leader as a privilege, not a right. And that's something, I guess, that's a little bit more nuanced within the last 30 years that we've really focused, that the military really focused on promoting that commitment to service and being the standard. What does the standard look like? And that really helped to change the culture of the military. When you see that trying to be emulated in the private sector, there's a pretty big disconnect on what a servant leader is. Everybody loves the buzzword of servant leader and culture, but it actually means that you're taking care of people so you can take care of a lot more people. It's just a never-ending cycle of service and support. And what kind of impact are we driving at? What legacy are we leaving, not only for ourselves, but for our business, our families? How many people are we touching every day with the actions that we take? And that's how, and that is a very positive culture.
Can I throw a question out?
Go for it.
I'm retired now, so I see things maybe from a different set of eyes. But do you think that corporations and companies now are being forced to refine their mission statements much more frequently today than they did, 5 years, 10 years ago, when you just said, this is what I'm going to do and I'm going to work to accomplish that? You're constantly having to refine and update that mission statement.
Yes, I agree, because it used to be like the strategic plan, good for 3 to 5 years with revisions. Now it is an annual or biannual review. And I've seen it even go down to a quarterly review as part of the quarterly planning. It will take a look at the mission, value statement, and also culture is really big, because they realize that if we don't have the correct culture, we're not going to be able to accomplish anything. If we don't adjust our culture to changes. My prime example is when I started working, I don't remember anyone showing a tattoo of any kind. Now I have employees with tattoos. I have employees with piercings. I have employees with different hair. And it's, most of it's acceptable in the workplace now. As long as it isn't derogatory or inflammatory, it's acceptable in the workplace. And it's just a normal change in our society where your culture has changed. If you said, I can't hire anybody who has a tattoo, blue or purple hair, or a piercing, you wouldn't be able to hire anyone. And you'll notice that the culture has changed, that the military has changed the recruiting standards. I still support some of the recruiting that goes on. And there was a thing years ago where no tattoos were visible. Now it's tattoos can be covered, tattoos can be partially visible, and they just can't be derogatory, because that's what you're recruiting. You now have 18 to 21-year-olds that have tattoos, they have piercings, they have purple hair. And all we ask them to do is to come into compliance, be a team member. We're not saying change your work life, change your attitude, change anything. We're just saying you're joining the military, become a team member. And I think I see the same thing happening in corporate America, where they're looking for you as a person to be contributing to the team. If you come in, whatever you have with you, that's what they're hiring. They're hiring you for your skills, for your personality, and number one, to be a team member.
Well, you bring up a great point, right? Diversity. That's a huge push right now. And you're talking about how we've seen a shift, right, in the workplace culture and changing mission statements. And really, before, I don't think we necessarily worried about a social consciousness as a company. Don't pollute the water. I did my social consciousness, right? We're done. Right. And now we're seeing that's a huge part, right? People buy not only from a business because they like their products, but they like the culture of it. They like the vision, the values that are portrayed, right? And the marketing. So it's such a big thing, part of a business before, loaf of bread is a loaf of bread. Now we buy it because of what it stands for, right? Mm-hmm. So that culture is so important for the business itself and how that's reflected with their workers. I think we've seen a big shift in that. Yeah, you got me thinking on that one.
There's a lot of change in the workplace, especially workplace culture. And as we mentioned, the point that Stuart made, it's constantly evolving, and you have to evolve with it. What's acceptable today? Like I remember, this is probably Stuart and I remember the day when you could smoke in your office. You can't smoke anywhere in your building right now. All right.
That's right. You're absolutely right. In most restaurants you went into, they had a smoking and a non-smoking section. And pretty much now all workplaces and public places are smoke-free places. And if you want to smoke, you take it outside.
Big change in culture. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, one thing that I've definitely seen in the change of culture is that we look at companies that tout their values and say that our culture is X, but really Y is happening. And you see that in a lot of corporations throughout the United States and the world, where there's an inconsistency between what's being said and what's actually being done. So a part of that culture and that shift now is really looking for more corporate accountability and responsibility of not only the CEOs but shareholders. Even you're seeing a lot more shareholder activism than we've ever seen in the market. So when we look at the changing of the times, we have to be careful when we're saying that we're changing our culture to match the times. We're trying to make sure that our culture is supporting modern trends, but it's still staying true to our identity.
I agree, because I noticed that the cultural change is a very slow pace, almost glacial. And I've noticed that corporations are now realizing that as they recruit the new employees and senior employees, they're now looking at it. It used to be you go to an interview for a job and you interview with the company, they evaluate what you have on the resume. They've now turned the table where they say the person coming to the interview has done their homework on what we stand for as a culture, our work culture, our company, our goals, our strategic plan. What do we do in the community? So it's a two-way street now, where the company is being interviewed by the prospective employee, just as the company is interviewing the prospective employee. It's a two-way street now, and it's kind of interesting to see the change. Because in the old days, you would go to a corporation, you'd ask to be an employee, you'd present your skills, your experiences. Now, employees are doing their homework on not just what the bottom line of the company produces, but how are they helping the environment? How are they helping their community? What are their long-term goals? Sustainability. Are they doing anything for climate change? Are they committing to some of the growing trends in the United States or internationally? Are they trying to help people that are suffering? These are all community-based aspects that are now coming into the picture, which is a very positive step, because everybody used to point at the corporate. And it's kind of like when people point at the government, they point at the government not realizing you're a person paying taxes, you're part of the government. They like to point their finger, not realizing you're part of the solution
or
part of the problem. Yes.
Right.
Tax dollars really make a difference on where they're spent.
Yeah, you mentioned the corporate hiring environment too. Going back a few decades, the hiring process was generally an in-office, one-on-one interview process. Today, it's very rare that initial contacts with employees with an employer is face-to-face. It's usually done through technology. Submit your resume, and your resume could be sitting there in a stack with 400. You may be more qualified than most of those others, but that person to person is a little further down on the priority list, and the decisions also, okay, let's narrow it down to the top 10 contenders. And then we have a committee that sits and goes over it and decides who to invite back for a second or third interview. And sometimes that works. And many times that potential employee who was, very well qualified for the position in your company didn't wait for that second, third, fourth interview. They've gone on to chart their own future.
That is very true, because I noticed that one of the things that Google, not to pick on Google, but one of the things at Google is when you work there, I did a short-term contract, and one of the things that you mentioned is, we'd love to work here at Google. We hired you to do this particular job, but if you want to do something else in Google, the door is open to do something else you really have an interest in. And that's the second or third corporation I've worked with as a consultant where they made that offer. Like, you may have come in as an accountant, but if you have a really strong feeling that you'd love to do in your spare time, you'd love to do either gaming, you'd love to do some kind of accounting type thing, or you want to do something that's completely out of your range, like you really have an interest in, from my experience, eliminating workplace incidents or workplace compensation claims because you have preventive measures. They will provide you a path to do that. And that's kind of interesting that it used to be, pardon the expression, pigeonholing a new employee, but now they're more open to saying you're you're an employee who works for us. If you have a stronger interest than what you're doing, there's portability to move to something else. And
I think they call that cross training in the military, don't they?
Yes,
Right.
but the fact that they're open to other things you can do is a very big change I've noticed recently. And that's a very positive change because you have people that are great. You have people that are hidden artists that just do art on their own. And they haven't been trained. It's just something they love to do. Well, if you get them into the department that does marketing, sales, and promotions, and they can really do something they love, they say the best thing is to do something you love and get paid for it. You'll never work a day in your life. And I really believe that you recognize people just like you recognize your employees on who wants to move forward to be management. You recognize your employees that have other interests outside the job, and you encourage them. And I think
That's
really
right. Because when you think about it, if you want to change careers, a lot of times we automatically assume we have to change companies.
Right.
I want to do something different. Well, I can't do it here. They know me as this, so I need to go somewhere else, right? But it makes sense. If you like them and they're a good employee, why not help retrain them into an area where they could be happier, more productive?
Yes, especially if they already have that interest. I mean, my example is what Stuart does. I was in the military, and I was privileged to work overseas in Yokota Air Base, which is also the home of AFRTS Tokyo. And that goes back a long way in broadcasting history to World War II reporting. And when you walk through there volunteering to do a radio station position, and you're like, I have my show at the same place. You know, guys on 60 Minutes worked when they're in the military as correspondents, the history and things like that. And they did come to me and they said, well, yes, you could go into broadcasting, but you have to give up flying. And unfortunately, that was the end of that conversation. Sorry. I was like, yeah, I love broadcasting. I continue to volunteer, but giving up flying, sorry, not an option.
But you bring up a great point, right? The idea of what are employees looking for in a work culture, right? So the ability to be able to cross-train into something else is I think, a big advantage. You know, what else are we seeing in changing and shifts that employees are looking for now?
So employees are looking at what the company does, not just for their job and what they produce, but kind of like their social standing is what I've noticed. Where are they at on climate change? Where are they at on environment? Where are their processes in the company? Like my example is if you worked at a company and made plastics or did some kind of plastic manufacturing, is there a way to reduce your plastics? Is there a way to make it biodegradable? Is there a way to improve the efficiency and save the environment? Is there a way that you can take back the plastic, recycle for second and third use? So that's my example where companies are looking at now. They're saying, internally, what do we produce? Internally, how can we do it better, more efficient, reduce any waste that's going out into the environment? Anything that takes away from a bigger landfill.
What is it? Carbon footprint, I think, is the phrase they like to use for that, right? So how can we reduce our carbon footprint, right? And so for the next generation, right, and what they're looking for work, right, that might be a big issue, right? I don't even remember thinking about that when I was looking at jobs way back when, you know, what are they doing to reduce their carbon footprint? It didn't even occur to me, right? I want a job, I want someplace I like, and I want to get paid well. Was there more?
Well, there's always more when you're talking about culture. The one thing that I'd like to talk about is the difference in the importance of culture in small business, because we've been talking more in the context of large scale corporations in corporate America. But what's the lifeline of the American economy, which is small business, entrepreneurs? And I was actually discussing this very point this morning with one of my clients, Grad Building Solutions. In what are they wanting out of their culture? How are they looking at that? If you were the owner today, what kind of values would you like to see the company represent? And getting that started with small businesses, especially at the beginning, helps them to establish the practices of how they're going to treat their not only their employees, but manage that promise to again, the employees, their clients, as well as their community. So when we look at the culture, we have to see in a smaller context how important it is to hire the right person for the right job and the right functionality, but has the ability to have that flexibility and adaptability.
I agree with that, Gordon, because most of the companies that you see today all started as small businesses, and they've had to adjust their core values from a group of 2 people, 4 people, and the numbers go up. And like you said, the key is keep maintaining your culture, adjusting as necessary, keeping your core values. So I really agree with that.
Yeah, and seeing when companies start out small and they have those core values, they really need to maintain them. You can change the shift of your mission, maybe a little bit in your purpose, but those core values really need to be maintained. And so this way, we're actually thinking about why we started this in the first place, and we keep staying on that impact-driven path. Where when we start thinking about, yes, I started this off as a 1 or a 2-person shop, and now I have 500 people working for me. Why did I get this going in the first place? What can I do to have this same effect and this same level of desire in my up and coming management to assume my position when I have to step aside? And so and again, that comes back to building that sustainable culture that's based on values, because as the social winds change and as things increase and decrease in importance, what we stand for as a company and are able to replicate that through not replicate, but actually show what our values are and us living our values is extremely important, especially in the consumer market.
Yeah, a lot of it, I think, is mindset today, because there are a lot of young people that want to go into business and they start the business. And by the way, the failure rate among small independent businesses is probably higher than it's ever been. It's because you have to have a game plan going in and you have to be willing to work hard for that. But I fear that there are too many young people that want to go into business today because their plan is to build the business as quickly as they can and then sell out and get a big pot of cash and move on. That usually is the detriment to them doing business. My wife and I, being independent business people for as long as we were, the first 20 years was a great ride. Then with the onset of computers, there seemed to be a lot more computer purchasing of products. And we looked at each other as saying, why are people coming into the store looking at our products, but then walking out, without a purchase? It was because they were scoping in order to go back to their computer and find it cheaper online. But our mindset was there was one item that we could offer to our customer that nobody else could get on a computer, and that was personalized service. Yes. So if I was selling that same product for a few dollars more than online, I had the ability to know if that product was going to walk out of my store and stay out of my store, instead of the culture we live in today. Now, just order. If it fits, fine. If not, package it back up and return it. So the mindset of why are you starting your business is, do you want to do it because it's going to make you feel good every day that you open the door to your business? Or is it, I just want to fast track as quickly as I can until I franchise my business out or I sell it out to somebody else?
Personal investment, right? How important is the business to you? Is it a part of who you are? Why are you in business?
Exactly. And that's part of what we were talking about earlier, is having a mission statement and having a short range, a mid range, and a long range goal as what you want to do with your business.
And does that align with your values?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So sir, you brought up the closure rate for a lot of these new businesses that are being started up by young people. And one thing that I think is a detriment to that very thing is that we're not teaching leadership the way we used to. Our values as a society have changed so much that now when we start a business, it's all about me. What can I make for myself? As you said, franchise the business, sell it off, and there's no thought about legacy, as you've seen in generations past, where you have multiple generations of the family that work for that business, and are able to maintain that elevated sense of commitment to their customers as you did with your businesses. And that is something that I think is just lost all around the market. Is how do we maintain the great aspects of the client experience from years past and not just abandon it? I think we need to, some areas we need to refine, yes, just because things have modernized, but we still need to be showing who we stand for as a company. And then those daily disciplines, those practices, is what really helps to not only show your culture, but also validate.
And I was just thinking, and Victor, I'd love to hear what you have to say about that, and then I'll.
All right. So real quick, I was going to say that I agree with what Gordon and Stuart are saying, especially at the aspect that right now, one of the key investors in this world is Warren Buffett. And what he looks at for investors is he doesn't look at the fact that you're making money today. He looks at the fact that you made money yesterday, you'll make money today, and you'll continue to make money. And what he does, he looks at the company's culture and leadership plans. So he's looking at your company to say, you've taken the time to plan on succession and success. You're not just hitting it out of the ballpark today. You plan on hitting it out of the ballpark continually every game you play for the next unnumberable number of years. And like Stuart and Gordon were saying, the multi-generational, you're not in it just to make money and sell to Google or somebody to buy it. You're in it to say, this business should outlive my lifetime, my children's lifetime, my grandchildren's lifetime. That is why I'm in business.
And you mentioned success, and that made me think, how do you define success? Which also goes back to Gordon's idea about small business, and what Stuart had just said about, I want to build this as fast as I can and then sell it to another corporation. I want it to go big, right? Or is success because I want to build it up so that I have a legacy for my family so the next generation can have, and the next generation can have it, right? It's a generational business that is part of the family. Is it generational wealth that you're trying to get? What does success look like for your organization? And I think that's going to be influenced. What comes first, the chicken or the egg, on the success and the values?
That is a tough proposition for most people because they look at generational as one or two generations. And living in Asia, I realized that their mindset is, I don't make a decision for today or for my children or my grandchildren. I make a decision for multiple generations down the line. So their business outlook is, I would start making, we'll pick on the widgets. I start making widgets with the idea that my children will make widgets, my grandchildren will make widgets, and my great-great-grandchildren will make widgets. Or if it's like the horse and the cart, and the cars come along, they will adjust the business because they'll have strong core values. They'll have a culture that's strong and is encouraging, and they'll be able to change as business changes.
You reinvent the widget.
Exactly.
I think you just put a different polish on it, really, because that widget's going to stay to being the widget ultimately. And we see the reinvention of things all the time in our economy, but maintaining that sense of identity, and that's generated by your base values. But when we're looking at what success means, how we can define success is through the level of impact that we have. So of course, yes, I'm going to take care of my family. I want my family to be involved with the business. But also, how far out am I touching people because my business exists, and having that drive your actual success versus just monetary marks. You're going to get the money when you're living for other people other than yourself, because it's going to take a community. Just like Stuart said, you need to have a plan when you go into business. The best way to have that plan is to have a strong team with you. There isn't a single owner that started out a business that didn't have advice from anybody. They had some type of advisement from someone, whether it was a smart relative, the library, the librarian at the library, contacting Christine Dean. There's so many people you can reach out to that you need to also make sure that you're receiving that counsel from a team that also believes in your values and where you're wanting to go and why you're wanting to do it. So.
And another great way to establish the ability to run a good independent small business is to spend some time in a larger version of what you want to accomplish. Because if you are in a retail environment or the restaurant, hospitality environment, and you spend enough time, you will learn the things that work best and maybe the things that you could revise to make it even better. So that when you open the doors to your business, you now have taken the pieces to put together your plan to make it work, rather than just saying, "Hey, I got an idea of opening up a restaurant," and just buying the equipment and opening the doors. Having that experience in a larger venue sometimes is the best way to form your own foundation for your success.
I agree, because a lot of times it's kind of like when you're an employee. I've told people this before, that a lot of times you get lessons on how not to be a manager or a supervisor. You get more of those lessons than you do of the lessons on how to be one. So when you're in that position, you know a better way from the employee perspective, working as a manager. The same thing with business ideas. I agree with you, Stuart, that if you work in a large corporation, there'll be inefficiencies that you can recognize that you can probably start your own company, small business based on. Things that a larger corporation does not do well or can't respond to change well. And I think that's how a lot of smart small business get started, that they work for a large corporation. They see this corporation is trying to be everything to all people. And they say, there's a niche that is very profitable, that they can't spend more time or energy and focus on. But I can as a smaller business, and I can keep those efficiencies and make it a positive experience for everyone, because I'll address the need, providing a solution, and I'll make it efficient. And as we said, you take care of the people that are doing the jobs, you take care of your team, and you don't have to worry about accomplishing it, because that will be accomplished as long as you're supporting your people. One of my best moments as being in management and supervisory role is I asked somebody during their evaluation what they wanted to be. They said, well, I want to be in your position doing the job just like you do it. And you can't put a dollar figure on that, because I said the same thing to someone 30 plus years ago.
My response is, you can have it. I remember having that conversation. You can have my job. Really, seriously.
And Victor, you are absolutely spot on, because my father, who was my mentor, when he would hire, interview somebody to come into the business, he always used to use that one question: where do you see yourself 5 years from now? Mm-hmm. And if that person said, oh, I see myself in another state, in another country or whatever, doing something completely different, that said a lot to your position of being hired. If the answer was, I want to be sitting behind your desk doing what you're doing in managing this company, now you are on the right track to being a success in my business.
Yes. Very positive attitude and very encouraging. I heard Mark Zuckerberg has one like that.
See, Gordon's got something to say. Gordon,
he's ready to jump.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm trying to be respectful of people. So
no, we don't do that.
Well, we should. We should be living out our values again. I'm going to keep harping on that. But both of you talked about getting the large corporate experience to be able to apply it to your business. The one thing that I would challenge with that is also to do your network. I've learned so much through the people that I've networked, more than I could have ever learned from any work experience or any class experience that I've had. In the last 60 days, I've learned probably about 5 or 6 new skills that I never even had. So making sure that you're leveraging your network appropriately is also a great way to find those missteps that people businesses, the owners might even be aware of it and say, yeah, I know that's a challenge. This is how I would have liked to have addressed that issue when it first arose.
And also for someone who is looking for that perfect career, it's never been more important than it is today to do your homework. Know absolutely as much as you can about that company that you really want to be employed with. Uh, uh, a good case in point is in the medical community today. If you are not feeling well, you better sit down and Google as much as you can about the feeling that you're having. What are the symptoms that you're having? Instead of just going into the doctor and the doctor says, well, yeah, there's a lot of that going around and just take this and call me in 60 days. We have to do our homework. And I think that any HR person or middle or upper management executive that is going to interview you, if you can tell them as much about their company as they already know, you are going to be the right candidate for that position.
Like you said, do we like the culture of where we're going? Do they represent what we're looking for? Right. For me, I work a lot with nonprofits, solopreneurs. I'm looking for people. I like to work with people that want to make a difference. I love working with coaches. I like working with people that want to make the world a better place. So that's what I'm looking for when I go to look for clients, right? And who I want to work with and do my homework. And is this somebody that I actually want to work with? And that's on an entrepreneur level, right? A small business level. But whether you're looking to be hired or whether you're looking to hire, right? Culture is a huge part of it. It really is.
Right.
Well, so I'm wondering as we wrap things up, if there's any final words of advice anybody wants to give, if you want to offer any of your skills or talents to our viewers, how I've been scrolling a little bit with emails and things. So if you want to offer anything to them, like reach out to you about whatever area it is that you feel like you have that skill and talent in, and you want to offer some mentoring or a paid service, whatever it is, tell them, share.
Well, I'm going to jump in first on this one.
Okay, then I'm going to put you on the spotlight. Here you go.
Okay. So again, my name is Gordon Smith. I'm with U.S. Leadership Incorporated. If you're ready to accelerate excellence and take your business and your life to the next level, please reach out to us at usleadership.net. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Gordon. And let's see who else wants to talk. Stuart, I'm going to add you now. Whoop. I'm adding everybody. That's just what I'm doing. Here we go.
Well, in my regard, if you have something to say about how you can make yourself a better employee, how you have developed your business in the proper way that you want to share with other people, then I'm the kind of person you can reach out to at Stuart@stuartsachs.com. And all my interactions on my radio programs and podcasts is all about people and what they have done to make their position in life better. And if I can help you promote your business and your career and your, trend of thought in how to do this, reach out and I'll be happy to talk to you.
Yes, my name is Victor Freeman. I'm Freeman Consulting, LLC. What I provide is services to small businesses as far as getting their networks up and running, their connectivity issues, and resolving problems they may have, such as their internet dropping, such as computer issues, or my major thing is business requirements and technical solutions. So if you want to reach out to me, I can be reached at victor@freemanconsultingllc.tech. And I'll be happy to talk to you about issues that you're having with your business that relate to business issues, technical issues. I have a wealth of experience in setting up small businesses and supporting them on a long-term basis. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Victor. I think we've had a great discussion today. I want to say thank you to everybody for participating, because this is a big thing. It keeps changing. It's ever evolving. It's important. If you want to be successful today, really, culture is going to be an important part of that. So I'm going to bring everybody else in to say goodbye, farewell. We're going to miss you till next time. Feel free to come check out DFW Networking Diva. And you just never know what we're going to talk about, but it's probably going to be related to employment. It's going to be related to workplace. It's going to be related to networking. It's going to be something to do with marketing. It's going to be fun. That's what it's going to be. So you want to come hang out with us, because that's what we're all about. So thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us. Say goodbye.
Our pleasure. Take care.
Thanks, Christine.
Thank you. We'll see y'all next week, Wednesday, for DFW Networking Diva. We broadcast every Wednesday at 10 a.m. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.